In today's video, I am breaking down 3 keys to elite performance. We're going to talk about decision velocity. We're also going to talk about owning everything and not just managing your time, but also managing your energy and your state. These are all key components to elite performance. So if you're ready, it's time to break barriers and build legacy. Let's go. Hey, welcome back. It's Rob here with you again to talk about elite performance today and elite performers and the kinds of things that separate elite performers from average, okay, so that we can perform at elite levels more frequently and more consistently, right? So the first thing I want to talk about, you've heard me talk about before, it's perfection, okay? You may understand already that I have a different definition of perfection than most people do. I've mentioned it in some other videos. The reason why is because I chose to adopt a belief that would serve me. All right, what do I mean? Well, it used to be that I gave the same definition to myself that most people do. Perfect equals flawless. All right, and so just like a lot of people do, and maybe you do this as well, if something is not flawless, then I hold back from doing it. It's not perfect. I'm going to have an imperfect result because things aren't perfect. And so that holds me back from even doing the thing in the first place. All right. This is a dangerous area to get into because I'm going to tell you that what trumps perfection is decision velocity. Okay. Speed of implementation. So what I did was I reconfigured perfection in my mind. I reconfigured the word perfect, and I have it meaning something else entirely to me, which is another definition of perfect. If you look up perfect in the dictionary, you'll find that flawless is just one definition. There are many. And so the definition that I use for the word perfect is just that everything is as it should be, okay? I am perfect. You are perfect. We are perfect in existence, okay? We exist perfectly within this frame that we call the world or the universe or whatever it is that you want to call it, right? However you want to look at that, what I've done is I've changed what perfect means to me, okay? I have adopted a meaning of that word that serves me rather than hinders me. And this is a very important thing to do that I recommend that viewers do, okay? You ought to look at changing the meaning of some things to yourself so that you can serve yourself better, okay? Now, I am not talking about changing the meanings of things in terms of everyday conversation that you have with people, because you're going to confuse a heck of a lot of people that way. You're going to be meaning something and they don't think you mean that and they think you mean something else. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the internal meanings to you of certain things that instead of hindering you can be used to help you. So it used to be that I would get stuck because I was a perfectionist. And so I would do things that, I would only do things if I thought they would come out perfect. And so I was afraid to try a lot of things because it might not come out perfect. Now everything is perfect. It just is perfect already as it is. Okay, do you see that change that I made? I did that so that I could get myself moving. And you can call it a cheat or a hack or whatever you want to call it. You can call it lying to myself. I don't care what you call it. It works for me, okay? So if you are interested in something like that, try it for yourself. See if it works. If it doesn't work, that's okay. You don't hurt my feelings. It works for me, okay? I'm just recommending it because it's something that worked for me. And again, speed of implementation is what we're after here, okay? Decision velocity, all right? When you make a decision about something, go for it. Do it. All right? And don't get caught up on whether the result is going to come out perfect or not. All right? And that is the little trick, I guess you could call it, that I gave myself to force myself to act instead of hesitating. All right? So again, I did that to help myself get moving, to serve myself better. Okay? So speed of implementation, all right? That's a huge thing. Elite performers, they act, they decide, and they go. And they go for it, and they make adjustments along the way, all right? Another thing elite performers do, they own everything, okay? Everything. No excuses. Never, ever do elite performers do we blame something on someone else or some circumstance. We own everything. We own our decisions. We own the results of those decisions. We own our actions. We own our thoughts. We own our beliefs. We own our behaviors. We own everything. Because most importantly, what does that do? That enables us to own our results, right? And if you own your results, then you can look at those results and you can decide, what do I need to do differently in the future to create a different result? I created that result. I own that result. What do I need to do next time so that I can get a different result, right? If you are busy blaming the results on other people or other things or circumstances or whatever it might be, then you are giving up control and you are giving up ownership of your results. And now what are you going to do? How are you going to change your result? You didn't own it in the first place. It's not yours to change, right? So again, tracing this back, it traces back to our behaviors and our attitudes and our thoughts, okay? So no excuses, all right? And if you are someone who makes excuses, even sometimes, you got to break that habit. You got to get into the habit of owning everything. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. Twida equals twitey. Okay, that's my saying that I use for that, my little mnemonic. And you may have recognized that from a different video, right? So again, it's really, really important, okay? You have got to own everything and not make excuses, all right? That is a huge key to elite performance. And finally, what elite performers do, we don't just manage time. We don't just take our calendar and block out things and decide that this is what we're going to do here and we're going to commit to it. That's part of it for sure. But we not only just manage time, we manage our energy, okay? And we manage our state. And what do I mean by that? Because that's a huge distinction to make. And so I need to clarify that. Managing your energy means devoting the proper amount of energy to the tasks that you need to at the appropriate times of day. It means getting to know yourself, okay? The self-discovery that I talk about a lot in a lot of my videos. You need to understand when you are most effective and when you are least effective, okay? And this is something I fought for a long time. I spent a lot of years in the hospitality business, in the restaurant industry, and I worked late and worked until 1 or 2 in the morning a lot of times. So I thought that I was a night owl, and I thought that I was someone who did, my best performances were at night and in the late night. And maybe at that time in my life that was true, okay? But what I did was I created that perception for myself, okay? And I carried that into my future to where I bought into this idea of being a night owl. And I'm a night owl, and I do things at night more effectively than I do during the day. And it was only true when I was in that industry and when I was in that business. And it was true by necessity, right? You can't work until 2 in the morning if you're not effective until 2 in the morning, right? So it was a necessity. It was a byproduct of the environment that I was in and in the industry that I worked, okay? When I got out and when I started to get into business ownership and entrepreneurship, and I started to teach and I started to coach and the different things that I've done since then, that's where I had to make a shift. And it took me a long time. I hesitated, and I would say more than hesitated, I resisted, all right? I resisted this change. I insisted that I was a night owl. And so I would try to work well into the night, and that's not the kind of thing that provided very much in terms of effective results, because the rest of the business world is operating during the day. And so I'd be sleeping in and people were up and at it and moving and shaking, and I'm asleep because I was up until 2 in the morning. So it took a shift, and it took me accepting the fact that, you know what, maybe I'm different now. Maybe I can change, right? Maybe that is just a byproduct of having been in that industry for so long. And sure enough, it turned out that way. And why did it turn out that way? Because I decided it, right? Our thoughts determine so much. And so again, just like I decided I was a night owl, I shifted that. And it wasn't overnight. It didn't happen like that. It was something that was gradual and it took a lot of effort, but I eventually shifted it and realized I'm way more effective early in the mornings, all right? And I started getting up at 5 a.m., which required me to go to bed at a decent time, so to speak, in order to get a decent amount of sleep, right? I started having to go to bed earlier. And then I made the shift and I talked about this in a previous video as well, to 3 a.m. wake-ups. Now, 3 a.m. wake-ups require a whole different thing, a whole different shift, and a whole different attitude and mindset. I can't stay up late now and try to get one more thing done, and that's where I got caught up too. I kept trying to get one more, this guy, one more project, and just do one more thing. Just do one more thing. And then pretty soon I'm up till 11:30 at night. I can't get up at 3 a.m. and be effective if I'm going to bed at midnight, right, or 11:30. So I had to drop that idea of, just this one more thing. I'm just going to get this one more thing done and remind myself, look, if you want to be effective, you need to get enough sleep to be effective. And if you're getting up at 3 so that you can get work done before anybody even thinks about waking up, which is what I love about getting up at 3. I get up at 3, I get right to work, boom. And I have a short 15-minute morning routine. And then I get into work and I do deep work for the first hour and a half that I'm awake. And then I do a couple other things, and then I get back to deep work again. And by 7 in the morning, when many people are just leaving for the office or some are just waking up, I've already got 4 hours in the books, man. And it was life-changing, and it was so super exciting and exhilarating to know that and to understand that, and I was hooked, and I've been hooked ever since. So I go to bed early, I get up at 3, and I get to work. And that's what works for me, okay? And again, the self-discovery of figuring out that is my time, that was key, okay? Maybe you are a night owl. Maybe that is what you prefer. That's okay. I'm not knocking it. I'm saying it didn't work for me. So what you need to do is find what works for you. Maybe 3 a.m. isn't what's going to work for you, but maybe 5 a.m. will, maybe 6, maybe 4, maybe 4:30, whatever. The point is that you have to figure out what it is for you, okay? And then manage your energy, meaning that when you figure out what that time frame is, that you're at your peak and that you're at your best, that's where you need to focus your most important tasks and your deep work, okay? You need to match that up if you want to be effective and if you want to perform at an elite level, okay? So you're not just managing time, you're managing your energy and you're managing your state. And that's what I've talked about in a couple of my most recent videos is state management, right? So again, elite performers, they act, man. They don't wait, okay? They don't try and make everything perfect. They adjust as they go, all right? And, you've got to own everything. You've got to own your results. You've got to own your actions. You've got to own your behaviors and your thoughts. You've got to own everything. And you've got to manage your energy, not just your time, right? So that's it for today. If you are interested in diving deeper into this stuff with me, head over to the website and grab the Performance Accelerator. It's my 3-day intensive to introduce you to some of my methods. There's plenty in there to unpack. I hope to see you over there, and we can email each other while you're going through that. You can ask me questions. We meet at the end, and that is part of the package as well. So please do that, and I will see you in the next video.
I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.